But this is one of the shortest books, is Habakkuk. Habakkuk was one of the minor prophets of the Bible, of the Old Testament. Why they're called minor prophets, I don't know, because probably they didn't have a lot that's recorded. I don't know. But he was completely different than the rest of the prophets. He did not speak for God to the people. In other words, he didn't get up there and say, God said, blah, blah, blah. He spoke to God about the people. If you were comparing him to today, you would probably say he's a whiner. Because he did. He complained to God about God's people. Why do they do this? Why do they do that? Let's get into it. Habakkuk, verse 1. 1:1. This is the message that the prophet Habakkuk received in a vision. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Violence is everywhere. I cry, but you do not come to save. Must I forever see these evil deeds? Why must I watch all this misery wherever I look? Kind of sounds like the news, isn't it? On TV today. I see destruction and violence. I'm surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. Yeah, it's even getting closer today. The law has become paralyzed. There's no justice in the courts. The wicked far outnumber the righteous, so that justice has become perverted. Yeah, pretty much what we see today. Because remember what Solomon said, who, according to the Bible, is the wisest man that ever lived. There's nothing new under the sun. History keeps repeating itself. And if we don't know what the history is, we're going to repeat it. So, today's message is about a vision that Habakkuk had. And it's not like your normal vision. Chapter 2 in Habakkuk talks about the second coming of Christ. That's a pretty good vision to have. If you remember old Jerusalem, Old Testament times, the cities were all walled. That sounds familiar today too. The cities were all walled. And they had watchtowers, usually on the four corners or on the outside edge, they had watchtowers. And that's where the news came from. It's like in the New England old town criers, hear ye, all is well in the town of Vassalboro. They're ringing the bell. And that's what the watchtowers were for. It was watching for enemies. Because we know that everyone has enemies. And in the Old Testament times, the walled cities were there to protect the people inside, to keep people from outside from coming in. So they had these watchtowers, but they were dual-purpose items. That's where the prophets and the priests and the kings would go, quote unquote, to be closer to God, because they would rise above. And this is where Habakkuk would get his messages back from God about the complaints that he made. Well, we just read the first complaint that he had to God, talking about his people, about the sinning, about everything that was going on. So, the good news, the Gospels, the New Testament, is referred to the Old Testament, and the Old Testament refers to the New Testament. So to verify what Habakkuk was saying, we go to the New Testament, we go to Romans, Galatians, and Hebrews, and it tells us what Habakkuk was talking about. chapter 2, verse 1. I will climb up to my watchtower and stand at my guard post. There I will wait to see what the Lord says and how he will answer my complaint. Do we have complaints? I think we do. Called prayers. Oh Lord, please help me out of this situation. Show me what I can do. And Habakkuk is no different than us. He did the same thing. And he would go up into his watchtower because he was a guard. He was also a prophet. And he would go into his watchtower and pray and listen. I don't know if he did the biblical thing, listen twice as much as he spoke. Don't know. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I think that's what we're supposed to do. But he went up into his watchtower, and the Lord spoke to him. Then the Lord said to me, verse 2, write my answer plainly on tablets, so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. This vision is for a future time. It describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. There it is. The end will come. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. So we know it's coming. We know the end is coming. The end times are here. They've been in here ever since Acts. The end times are upon us. And I don't know a lot. I know what the Bible tells me. That no man knows the day and the hour. There is a politician out there who's saying that the world is going to end in 12 years because of climate change. Don't know about that. I'm not an expert, but I know the end is coming. And our job is to be prepared. And how do you prepare yourself? You pray. You complain, just like Habakkuk did. You complain to God about things that are bothering you. People that are bothering you, because it's not up to you to change them. It's up to God. We have many, many problems in this country or in the world. Our job is to pray about them, pray to God, and ask for wisdom. Because a lot of times we can't solve it, but we know that God can. And we know that He knows the problem. But it's just like when you're at work. If you go to your boss and tell him about a problem, he can solve it. If he doesn't know about it, he can't. God is different. He's waiting for us to tell him, God, this isn't right. And even if it is right, He's going to let us know and tell you, nah, it is right. It's you. Fix yourself. So this man, Habakkuk, is complaining to God, and he gets the answer and say, the end is coming. Wait patiently. That's all we can do, is wait patiently. We can't hurry it along. We can't delay it. God has set the timetable, and only He knows when it is. One of the things I was asked this week at work was, what do you think about the LGBTQ community? I says, the Bible tells us we have to love everyone. Just like any other situation, it's between the sinner and God. It's not for us to decide anything. It's between the sinner and God. God can change anybody's mind. I don't know how He does it. Doesn't have this magic wand that says abracadabra, but if He can create the world, and He can build me, He can solve any problem. God is an awesome God. He is an awesome God. He can do whatever He feels is just and right. Sometimes I wonder why He created man to have all these problems that we have. Does He just sit back and laugh? And saying, oh, when are they going to learn? It's just like when you have little kids at home and they're growing up, and you say, you know, the little one stands up, tries to walk, and falls flat on their face. And you go, stand them up. Okay, try it again. God does the same thing for us because we are His children. Because we are children. He tells us time and time again, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm telling you, don't do that. But like a good parent, He has all the patience in the world. He says, you know what? I'm going to make you change your mind. I'm going to show you the right way to do things. And He does. He set it out right here in this book. People call this the Holy Bible. Not because we own it, but because He wrote it. He wrote this book. He inspired people to write this book. And it gives us the instructions to live on this earth. As Pastor Steve said, basic instructions before leaving earth. I like that. Because that's what it is. And we just go round and round and round, doing the same things over and over again, just like a little kid learning how to walk. But we have joy. We know what's coming. We know where we're going. We know that when we leave here, we're going back home. Pastor Steve and Pat were over our house last night, and we were talking about the Israel trip. And he said when they got to Israel and they got off the plane, once they went through customs and the security checks, the guy that was there to greet them said, welcome home. That's what we're going to hear when we see Jesus. Welcome home. Because we are just traveling through. We're sojourners on this earth. Our job is just to influence other people. Seems simple, but sometimes it's really, really hard. You get some people that you just can't connect with for whatever reason, or they can't connect with you. But guess what? Somebody will. You know somebody that's not saved? Pray for him. You know somebody that's doing some criminal acts? Pray for him. It's not up to us to change them. But we can influence them. We can be a part of that transition to salvation. We could use that for catchphrase, couldn't we? Transition to salvation. Because there are so many people out there who don't appear to have salvation. Whether they do or not, we don't know. That's between them and God. So let's remember to pray and do like Habakkuk did. The vision is for the vision is for a future time. It still is. It's for a future time because it hasn't come yet. Christ's second coming hasn't come yet. Hebrews 10, 37 and 38. For in just a little while, the coming one will come and not delay. And my righteous ones will live by faith. But I will take no pleasure in anyone who turns away. Verse 39, but we are not like those who turn away from God to their own destruction. We are the faithful ones whose souls will be saved. We are not like those who turn away from God to their own destruction. To their own destruction. We can transition them to salvation by living the life, speaking the life, praying the life into them. Because, I don't know, how many of you ever watched Shark Tank? Shark Tank on TV. About these entrepreneurs who lend money out to people. And there's a guy on there and he tells people, "You're dead to me. You're dead to me," when they don't agree with him. So think of that when you see somebody who appears not to have salvation, who appears not to have joy. Say, "They're dead to me. I've got to pray them back into life." Have you ever read Ezekiel about the dry bones? They come back together. God breathes life into them. That's what we are to do with the dry bones that are outside. Is we have to make sure that they get assembled and life gets breathed back into them so that we can all see them again when we're no longer here, but home. Because that's where we're going. Home. If there's anyone here who doesn't know where they're going, and I believe you all do, but if there is anyone here today who doesn't know where they're going when they go from upright to prostate, see me after the service, see Randy after the service, or see anyone here. And we will make sure, we will transition you to salvation. That's our job. And that's my message for today.